Welcome to Sports Daily, Dricus. Before we talk about EFC 50, just briefly tell us who you are and what you're about.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Dricus du Plessis, professional MMA athlete. I'm currently EFC fighter, fighting for the EFC title at EFC 50. I started fighting when I was about 5 years old, started in judo, wrestling, and I did that for 5 years, went over to kickboxing and K1. I did that for a few years. I'm the youngest of three brothers. They're the ones who got me into fighting in the first place, into the judo and wrestling. And yeah, so I started fighting as a 5-year-old. I went all the way, never stopped competing in combat sports. And when after my K1 career, I was 18 years old then. I said I want to go into MMA because of the opportunities of MMA were much bigger than they were for K1 at that stage. And I also felt that MMA is the ultimate way to test yourself. It's not only the stand-up part or not only the wrestling part. You have to put it all together, and that's why I went into it. And now I'm a professional MMA athlete, and I'm loving every moment.
You mentioned you were the youngest of the three brothers. Did that make you tougher growing up?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being the youngest of three brothers, one is 4 years older, one is 7 years older than me, so they always had the size advantage. So I had to be smart, and also when as three brothers, then there's something to compete about. You will compete about. That's how brothers are. And I think they are the reason that I am competitive today. They got me into competitive sports, into to being competitive. Showing fighting for that alpha male spot. And everything. Always that's how it works. If there's a new toy, the guy who wins the fight's going to get the new toy. He's going to play with it first. And that's great. I have a lot to thank to my brothers for raising me the way they did. Also my father, that's the way he raised us to. If you do something, go for it 100% and be the best at it that you can be.
So would it be fair to say your family is quite a big source of inspiration for yourself?
Yes, 100%. I mean, my family supports my fighting career 100%. That every fight they make it's a very big deal when I fight. And also my middle brother, he's making his pro debut at EFC 50 as well. So I'm fighting for a title, he's making his debut. It's a big night for our family, and my dad and mom, they're always there, always supporting. They really like it. I think my mom doesn't like it that much, but she's always supporting, and they're always there to behind us. And when we need inspiration, they're there to talk to.
You mentioned earlier that you were the smallest, obviously, of the three brothers, being the youngest, but you had to be smart. How important is it to be smart in a normal fight?
A lot of people of the old school fighters, there's a lot of guys who they just train and fight, go into the fight trying to hit somebody's head off. That's not the way the sport works anymore. The sport's evolved into a science much more than it is about physicality or anything like that. There's when you fight, like I said, everybody's fit, everybody's strong, everybody comes in there, everybody can knock you out, anybody can submit you. It's about the guy who's implementing his game plan on a night that's going to walk away with the win. And being smart in this fight, it's very important to outsmart your opponent more than overpowering your opponent. If he's smarter than you can have all the power. At some stage your power is going to run out, you're going to be tired. He's going to be the one who still has power left. So it's all about being smart, knowing when to go, or knowing when to slow down, knowing when to try and finish, knowing when to wait for it. Yeah, being smart is probably the biggest part of the fight.
What are some of your inspirations in mixed martial arts?
Yeah, so a lot of my inspirations, people-wise, seeing all the videos of the all-time greats, Anderson Silva, those are, even Brock Lesnar. If you see those guys on the videos that we saw as kids, you think, wow, these guys are awesome. And once I got into the sport a bit more, I started looking at local guys, local events. Guys like Leon Maynard, who's one of my training partners at this stage. That's where I started at CIT, when my first time I could train next to Leon, Michiel. Those are those I started looking up to when I was 15 years old. They were the local talent, they were the champions in the local fights back then. And now I'm training with them now. They were my seniors when I started at CIT, and it's great to be able to train with your heroes, if you can call it that.
How would you describe yourself as an athlete? What kind of a fighter are you?
I describe myself as because I'm quite a bit younger than the people I compete against, and I was very young when I signed with the EFC. So I see myself as somebody that adapts to the situation very, very well, and that's why I think of myself as a very well-rounded fighter. Because I'm so young, I didn't develop too many habits. just getting into one thing, like just want to stand up, or just want to wrestle, just want to take it to the ground. I feel I have, because I have all these people around me who's been around so long time, I can learn from all of them. I can learn something small from each and every guy there. And that's what I see myself as a fighter with an all-around skill set and being able to adapt to any situation that my opponent throws at me.
Coming into EFC as a K1 champion, was there a lot of focus from yourself to work on your ground game to make sure that's a strong part of your game?
Yes, for sure. Coming into, and that's why I feel myself as being a fighter, be able to adapt to any situation. I came in as a K1 champion, and knowing people are going to try and take me down, finish me on the ground, because that would probably be where my weakness is, and it was definitely. And starting at CIT, training with Michiel, Leon, they actually smashed me on the ground, and I realized that is where my weakness is. And I started working my ground with my coach, Attila, Varna, Neyfisse. They started seeing that's where I needed help. My teammates, they all helped me. And going to my first fight, I was so comfortable fighting on the ground. It wasn't a problem. And now most of my fights, I think all of my fights have been finished on the ground. 2 TKO victories, and 4 of them were, and 4 victories submission. So that shows that I'm actually from a stand-up background, and now my ground game is making me victorious in most of my fights.
Tell me about your nickname, Stillknocks. How did that come about?
Yeah, as a K1 fighter, my record was 33-0 and 30 knockouts. So my brother, he said, well, that's a sleeping pill, so that would actually be a very fitting name for me going in, and yeah, it just stuck.
Fantastic. Obviously, coming into EFC 50, you've had 8 fights, only lost 1. Let's talk about that a little bit first. Gareth McLennan, how difficult was that to swallow?
Losing to Gareth, it was absolutely horrible. There's no consolation saying, oh, I lost to a UFC fighter, he's now in the UFC. It's no consolation for me. I don't degrade myself against anybody. But he caught me on the night, and the night was the better fighter. And it was absolutely horrible coming from being my first loss in my whole fight career, from being from K1 days to MMA pro fights. My only loss ever was against McLaren. So, not knowing how to deal with the losses is definitely something that bothered me. Going into the fight, after the fight, it was a few weeks of darkness. Feeling you're not good enough. But
how did you pull yourself out of that darkness?
Soon I thought to myself, well, I can't sit here feeling sorry for myself. That's not going to make anything better. I have to get back in there and fight as soon as possible. And right after that fight was pretty soon, the EFC phoned me and said they'd like on a short notice fight Darren Daniels. And, a lot of people said that's a fight it's a bit of a big fight for me. Coming off a loss, you don't want to have 2 losses. If you have 2 losses in a row, it's not good for your career. And I said, well, I'm not planning on losing that fight. This guy is experienced, well-rounded, he's a legend in the sport. But I'm ready, and now I feel after that loss, I didn't protect my losing record anymore, my winning record. I wanted to show people how good of a fighter I am, and I was so calm going into the next fight. I was so confident I was going to win, and I wanted to show people that I am a champion. I just got caught in one fight, and that fight won't define me. And I won that fight. I fight after my loss quite easily. I went in there and I was the best fighter I've ever been, and that's how I feel right now after that loss.
Certainly, Gareth McLennan's no mug in the ring. He's, like you said, he's gone to UFC now, 6-fight contract. Is that your ambition to get to the UFC?
Yeah, definitely. I want to be in the UFC in shortly. I want to be on the biggest stage in the world, and hopefully EFC 50 people will see that I'm ready for that stage. Fighting McLaren, I feel like it was a very good fight. We were both in trouble at some stage. He caught me. He was the victor, but I was only 19 years old when I fought him. So now, 2 years later, I feel I'm double the fighter I was back then, and I'm ready to compete on the biggest stage in the world. There's nothing that I feel they can do that I can't. And yeah, being the UFC champion, that's what my ambitions are. I want to be the champion of the world.
Let's talk a little bit about EFC 50 coming up. How's the training going for it?
Training camp was absolutely great. The best camp I've had in my whole career. The mistakes I made in my first title fights, I think I sorted out now. Hearing about your title fight, you just want to train, and a lot of times athletes do overtrain, and that's something I did do earlier in my career, because I just want to train hard, making sure everything that I'm ready. But you have to be smart about this. You have to there's a science in this, and you have to make sure you don't overtrain. You don't train too much. You don't train too little. You have to make sure you peak at exactly the right time. And this time, my coaches and my team, we all work together to make sure that the peaking happens at the right time, and that's exactly how this camp went. I'm feeling the fittest I've ever been, strongest, fastest. This is definitely the best camp I've ever had.
Okay, opponent for EFC 50, Martin the Punisher from Staden. What are your thoughts on him? Have you got a game plan for him?
Fighting Martin, he's a seasoned veteran. He's had a lot of fights, and he's also quite a bit older than me, and that's why I feel I'll have the speed advantage, I'll have the strength advantage, and I'll have being the fitter fighter, because I'm younger, I'm faster, I'm stronger. But yeah, he's had a lot of fights. But I fought a guy like Donovan Hawkey, who was also he had more fights than Martin. That was only my third fight. So this is my third main event as well. I've been in the main event. That the lights doesn't bother me anymore. The big, being the main event isn't something that gets to me anymore. So I'll be ready, just like I would for any other fight. And if he thinks that experience is what's going to pull him through this fight, I'm very sorry. That's not going to help. I've fought a lot of experienced guys, and this fight is. I'm ready. As far as game plan goes, it's all about what happens on the night. There's no specific game plan. You can't say this is going to happen, then I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
It's you see what works for you on the night. If you catch the guy and stand up, you keep it standing. You try to finish that fight. If you feel comfortable on the clinch, you keep it there. If you feel comfortable on the ground, you take the ground and submit the guy. It's wherever I'll feel comfortable on the night, where the fight will take place.
Yes, so EFC 50 is a landmark event at Sun City, big stage, big crowd. What does it mean to you to be the main fight on the night?
When they phoned me and said they wanted me to be the main event for EFC 50, I was absolutely ecstatic. It was so cool, because I knew EFC 40 was big, where I was the main event against Dino as well. But EFC 50 is going to be absolutely huge, and for a fighter to fight there, it's always great to have the fans very excited to see your fight, and especially the fights before our fight. It's all great fights. The whole card is looking amazing. So people are going to be so winded up for this fight. People want to see this. People are anticipating a great fight, and that's it makes me a better fighter on the night. When I go out there and I see the people, they want to see. They just saw a couple of great fights. They want to see the best fight of the night being the main event, and that makes me a better fighter. It makes me go out there and perform for the fans and giving them what they need.
Fantastic. Can I ask you for a prediction for your fight against Martin?
Prediction-wise, I'll say finish within the first 2 rounds. That's how I plan my fights. That's how I see my fight going. Every time I close my eyes, I vision that the fight within the first round, the fight will be finished. That's how I fight. I finish fights, and finishing the fights within the first 2.
Thank you for joining us on Sports Daily.
Thank you.